Did you know that excess pleasure may be stealing your energy, your testosterone, and even your penis strength? Many men believe that ejaculating several times a day is a sign of virility, but in truth, it's the opposite. When the body is forced to release pleasure in excess, it enters a state of physical and chemical exhaustion. And what seems like pleasure ends up becoming a drain. During climax, the body goes through a true hormonal storm. Dopamine rises, adrenaline spikes, and the heart speeds up to sustain pleasure. Right after, prolactin comes into play, the hormone responsible for ending the cycle and inducing relaxation. This process is natural. But when it's repeated many times in a single day, the body has no time to recover, and the consequence is a significant drop in testosterone. Testosterone is the fuel of desire and potency. When it's balanced, a man feels energy, focus, confidence, and drive. But with each ejaculation, part of that energy is spent. The body needs hours, sometimes days, to restore hormone levels. If that doesn't happen, hormone production declines, and the man begins to feel the effects: fatigue, discouragement, reduced sex drive, and weaker erections. The problem is that excess disguises itself as pleasure. A man gets used to the immediate sensation and doesn't realize he's draining his vitality. Dopamine, which should bring motivation, starts to plunge, and pleasure becomes just a cycle of release and exhaustion. The brain loses sensitivity, and the body starts responding with less intensity. And while pleasure seems harmless, the nervous and hormonal systems are fighting to rebalance what was lost. That's why many men report feeling empty, irritable, or tired after a day of excess. It's not psychological, it's biological. Pleasure shouldn't leave you powerless. It should leave you more alive, centered, and potent. The body was made to feel pleasure, but also to recover from it. I'm Emily Collins, a urologist, and today I'll show you what really happens inside your body when you ejaculate more than 3 times a day, and why your penis feels it even before you notice. But before we continue, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, because here I talk about men's sexual health with scientific grounding, no taboos, and direct language. And tell me in the comments, have you noticed that after too much pleasure your body seems to run out of energy? Ejaculation is one of the most intense hormonal events in the male body. In seconds, the brain, testicles, and nervous system exchange thousands of chemical signals to coordinate pleasure, release, and relaxation. It's a perfect hormonal dance, but when it happens in excess, it throws off the body's natural rhythm. It all starts with dopamine, the hormone of motivation and desire. It's released in high concentration during arousal and climax. It's what ignites the urge and gives that deep sense of pleasure. But as soon as ejaculation ends, dopamine plummets and the body releases prolactin, the hormone that closes the cycle and forces rest. That's when a man feels relaxation, fatigue, or even drowsiness. This mechanism is natural. The problem begins when it's triggered many times in a row. Prolactin, when elevated frequently, temporarily blocks testosterone production. That's because the brain understands that if pleasure has already been reached repeatedly, there's no need to keep the body in a state of desire. The result is a gradual drop in testosterone, the hormone that sustains vitality, potency, and motivation. With each pleasure cycle, the body spends precious resources, energy, minerals, hormones. When that spending is constant, the hormonal system switches to defense mode. The testicles reduce testosterone production to conserve energy, while the brain raises prolactin to prevent new stimulus peaks. In other words, the body is trying to protect itself from excess. That's why, after ejaculating multiple times in a single day, a man feels his libido drop, his body weaken, and desire disappear. It's not lack of will, it's the body trying to rebalance. Pleasure turned into overload. Over time, this repetitive cycle wears down the hormonal axis, the communication between the brain, pituitary, and testicles. It shows up as fatigue, irritability, loss of spontaneous erections, and even mood changes. The body starts prioritizing survival over reproduction. Pleasure is biology. And all biology needs rhythm. Dopamine rises to create desire, prolactin drops to allow rest, and testosterone maintains balance. When the cycle is respected, the body thrives. When it's forced, it collapses. And that's exactly what I want to show you now, the effect of chemical exhaustion, when pleasure becomes draining and the body enters an energy collapse. Pleasure is one of the most powerful chemical experiences the human body can generate. But like every intense energy source, it can become exhausting when lived without balance. When you ejaculate more than 3 times a day, your brain and body stop reacting with pleasure and start reacting with fatigue. Each climax is a neurochemical explosion. The brain releases dopamine, the pleasure hormone, and adrenaline, the arousal hormone. The heart races, muscles contract, and the whole body enters high-performance mode. But soon after, the brain releases prolactin and serotonin, which lower tension and induce relaxation. That contrast, between euphoria and calm, is what makes pleasure so intense. But when this is repeated many times in the same day, the nervous system enters chemical exhaustion. Dopamine is depleted faster than the body can replenish it, and the brain, to protect itself, starts reducing receptor sensitivity. The result is simple: you feel less pleasure and more fatigue. It's as if the body said, enough. The drop in dopamine also affects testosterone production. Without sufficient stimulation from the brain, the testicles reduce hormone release and the body enters energy-saving mode. A man starts to feel less desire, less energy, less strength. Pleasure stops being stimulating and becomes draining. This exhaustion doesn't happen only in the brain. The heart and circulatory system suffer too. Excess adrenaline and dopamine keep the body in constant alert, raising blood pressure and making muscle relaxation harder. A man lives in an invisible tension state, with a racing heart and a tired body. And what's most curious is that the more fatigue he feels, the more he seeks pleasure to compensate for the lack of energy. It's a vicious cycle: pleasure creates fatigue, fatigue creates emptiness, and emptiness makes him seek more pleasure. But the more he seeks, the less the body responds. Pleasure without pause becomes punishment. It stops building and starts breaking down. Dopamine stops being an ally and becomes a trigger for apathy. Without energy, the body begins to feel it directly in erection, desire, and even mood. Pleasure was made to strengthen you, not to drain you. But for that, it needs limits. And that's exactly what I want to show you now, the physical impact of this excess, when the body can no longer keep up with the mind and starts to feel the overload. The body speaks when it's tired, but most men don't listen. Pleasure demands energy, and the body pays a price each time you push it past the limit. When the mind wants more but the body can't keep up, the system is in collapse. And the first to feel it is the penis. During pleasure, the penis is the body's thermometer. It depends on circulation, oxygen, sensitive nerves, and hormonal balance. When you ejaculate more than 3 times a day, this system goes into overload. Blood flow is demanded repeatedly, vessels take longer to recover, and pelvic floor muscles remain tense. That creates a state of vascular and muscular fatigue where the penis no longer responds with the same firmness. Testosterone, which drives desire and erection, also plunges. Without it, the body loses vitality and the brain reduces communication with the pleasure centers. A man still wants to feel pleasure, but the body responds sluggishly. The erection is weaker, climax comes faster, and fatigue arrives before satisfaction. This disconnect between mind and body is what many call performance drop. But in truth, it's just an exhausted system trying to defend itself. The body reduces potency as a self-protection mechanism, a biological strategy to avoid collapse. Additionally, excessive sexual stimulation consumes essential nutrients like zinc, magnesium, and potassium, critical for muscle contraction, hormone production, and cellular energy. Without proper replenishment, the body starts running on minimum mode. Fatigue rises, the heart feels the weight of repetition, and pelvic muscles lose elasticity. When lived mindfully, pleasure stimulates the body. But when lived as repetitive discharge, it weakens it. The heart beats faster, but blood arrives with less pressure. The penis tries to react, but the brain no longer sends the same signal. The most dangerous part is that this process happens slowly. A man gets used to low energy, unstable erections, and falling desire. He blames time, stress, age. But it's just the body trying to recover from never-ending excess. Pleasure without rhythm makes the body age ahead of time. And potency, which should reflect vitality, starts to fade. And that's exactly what I want to show you now, how the heart and the penis work together in this process, and why excessive pleasure overloads both at the same time. The heart and the penis are more connected than most men imagine. What happens to one reflects in the other. When the heart suffers, the penis feels it. And when the body is forced to ejaculate repeatedly, the system that keeps both alive pays the price: circulation. During pleasure, the heart works at full throttle. Heart rate spikes, blood is pumped forcefully, and oxygen is directed to the muscles and to the penis. It's a natural effort, similar to intense exercise. The problem starts when this effort is repeated without rest. The heart isn't made to run marathons every day. With each ejaculation, the body enters a cycle of acceleration and drop. Adrenaline and dopamine rise, then plunge. This constant chemical and physical back and forth leaves the heart exhausted and circulation less efficient. Blood starts arriving with lower pressure, which directly affects erection quality. That's why men who overdo it notice a less firm penis, slower response, and reduced sensitivity. Additionally, daily excessive pleasure keeps the nervous system in constant alert. The body starts living under adrenaline's command, and the heart never fully relaxes. This continuous tension causes microinflammation in vessels and increases oxidative stress, the same process that ages the body. As vessels become less elastic, blood no longer flows with the same power. The penis is the first to feel when circulation weakens. Erection is flow, and flow depends on a healthy heart. Excessive ejaculation turns pleasure into a training session without recovery. The body spends energy but doesn't gain strength. A man feels alive during climax but tired right after. Over time, this constant cycle makes the body associate pleasure with fatigue. The heart speeds up and the brain interprets the stimulus as effort, not pleasure. That's when the mind starts resisting desire and the erection loses intensity. Pleasure should strengthen the heart, not drain it. But for that, you must respect the interval between peaks. The body needs to breathe, blood needs to circulate calmly, and the heart needs to rest. And that's exactly what I want to show you now: how to restore this balance, recover energy, and give your body back true pleasure, the kind that strengthens instead of exhausting. Regaining potency isn't a matter of luck or genetics, it's a matter of rhythm. The male body has an incredible ability to regenerate, but it needs time, pause, and clean energy to rebuild. When you give your body the chance to breathe, it returns the best it has: vitality, firm erections, and true pleasure. First step: reduce the number of ejaculations per week. This doesn't mean repressing pleasure, it means respecting the hormonal cycle. Give your body at least 48 hours to restore dopamine, stabilize prolactin, and reactivate natural testosterone production. This simple adjustment is enough to increase libido, energy, and sexual sensitivity. Second step: fuel your body with the right nutrients. Semen is rich in zinc, magnesium, and selenium, minerals that support testosterone and cardiac function. When you ejaculate in excess, you lose part of these elements. Include nuts, fish, eggs, and dark leafy vegetables in your diet. That speeds recovery and reinforces vitality. Third step: re-educate your brain. Dopamine drives motivation and desire, but excessive visual stimulus and mechanical pleasure make the brain lose sensitivity. Reducing pornography and seeking more natural stimuli, touch, connection, involvement, helps the brain find real pleasure again. Fourth step: treat pleasure like training, not discharge. Just like in the gym, it's the rest that builds growth. When you space out stimuli, the body strengthens muscles, improves circulation, and stabilizes hormones. The result is a firmer erection, more control, and more pleasure. Fifth step: breathe and sleep better. Deep sleep is when the body produces the most testosterone and repairs damaged tissues. Sleeping too little is like cutting off your potency's fuel. A rested body feels more pleasure and responds with more energy. The man who learns to control pleasure masters his own body. And when the body understands that pleasure is lived consciously, it rewards you with potency and balance. And that's exactly what I want to show you now, the final lesson every man needs to understand. Potency isn't about how often you ejaculate, but how well you control your pleasure. Potency isn't about how many times you ejaculate, it's about how well you master your pleasure. The man who understands this stops being a slave to impulse and becomes the owner of his energy. He discovers that pleasure doesn't need to be constant to be intense. It needs to be balanced, conscious, and respectful of the body. The male body was made for pleasure, but also for rhythm. Dopamine needs to rise and fall. Testosterone needs room to be produced. And the heart, the engine of it all, needs to rest between peaks. When this cycle is respected, pleasure stops draining and starts strengthening. Excess pleasure is like flooring the gas pedal without ever easing up. At first, it feels like power, over time, it becomes wear. The body starts responding with less vigor, desire diminishes, and pleasure turns into routine. But when a man learns to break, he rediscovers control, and pleasure becomes an ally, not an energy thief. True potency is quiet. It doesn't shout, show off, or need to prove anything. It shows up in a firm erection, a calm mind, and clear energy. The balanced man feels more, lasts longer, and truly connects, because his pleasure comes from mastery, not habit. I'm Emily Collins, a urologist, and I see this every day. Men arrive exhausted, believing their bodies have failed, when in fact they simply need to relearn the rhythm. When that happens, the body responds with strength. Dopamine returns, testosterone rebalances, erections improve, and desire is reborn. Everything starts working again, because the body always tries to heal when you listen. Pleasure is power, but only when it's controlled. He who masters pleasure, masters the mind. And he who masters the mind, preserves potency. If you've made it this far, congratulations, it shows you want to understand your body and take care of your energy intelligently. Now, subscribe to the channel, because here I talk about men's sexual health with scientific grounding, no taboos, and direct language. Leave your like if this video made you rethink your relationship with pleasure, and comment below, my pleasure is balance. And for those who stayed until the end, the next video is already on the screen. There I explain how to reprogram your body to feel more pleasure with less strain and to recover your natural sexual energy. Click and keep going with me, because understanding your body is the first step to mastering your potency.